Let's be honest, as fans of Chicago Fire, we've learned to watch every episode with our hearts in our throats. We know the risks. We see the bravery. But sometimes, a call goes so wrong, so fast, that it leaves us breathless, staring at the screen in stunned silence. That's exactly what happened in the latest episode, a gut-wrenching hour that saw one of Firehouse 51's brightest flames, Lieutenant Stella Kidd, fall in the line of duty, leaving her life and her future hanging precariously in the balance. The alarm shrieked through the firehouse like any other, signaling a multi-story warehouse fire down by the industrial sector. It was already a monster by the time Truck 81 and Squad 3 arrived, a roaring beast of orange and black, greedily consuming the old brick building and threatening to spread. The air was thick with a chemical stench, a toxic soup that made every breath a gamble. This wasn't a simple blaze. This was a war zone. Leading her team on Truck 81, Stella Kidd was exactly where she was born to be. In the thick of it, we saw the determination etched on her face, a familiar look of fierce focus and unwavering courage. She was a symphony of motion and command, directing her team, making split-second decisions, and pushing forward into the belly of the beast to search for trapped workers. It was Stella at her finest, a true leader, fearless and utterly dedicated to the lives she was sworn to protect. Alongside her, Kelly Severide and Squad 3 were working their own brand of magic, trying to vent the building and get a handle on the volatile, unpredictable nature of the chemical fire. The radio chatter was a tense but controlled stream of commands and status updates, the familiar rhythm that keeps chaos at bay. But then, in an instant, that rhythm was shattered. A muffled, gut-thumping boom echoed from deep within the structure. The building groaned, and a sudden, violent backdraft ripped through the floor Stella's team was clearing. The last thing we heard from her was a sharp, cut-off command over the radio. Then silence, a deafening, terrifying silence that stretched for an eternity. The two words every firefighter dreads crackled through the comms. Chief Bowden's voice strained with a fear he rarely shows. Firefighter down. What followed was a blur of controlled panic. We saw the faces of Herman, Mouch, and Gallo, their professional masks cracking to reveal the raw terror underneath. But all eyes were on Severide. His entire world narrowed to a single point: finding his wife. The cool, collected squad lieutenant was gone, replaced by a husband running on pure adrenaline and fear. He found her partially buried under fallen debris, her helmet knocked askew, motionless. The sight was a punch to the gut for every single viewer. Seeing a hero like Stella, who always seems so invincible, so utterly still and vulnerable, is a profound shock. The frantic moments that followed felt agonizingly slow. The careful extraction, the desperate calls of her name, the race through the smoke-filled labyrinth to get her to the paramedics waiting outside. The ambulance ride to Chicago Med was one of the most powerful and heartbreaking scenes we've witnessed. Severide, his face smudged with soot and streaked with tears he wouldn't let fall, refused to leave her side. He held her hand, his thumb stroking her knuckles, whispering to her, pleading with her to stay with him. It was a raw, unguarded look into the soul of a man terrified of losing his entire world. The love story of Stellaride has been a cornerstone of this show, a beacon of hope and strength. In that moment, we felt the terrifying possibility of that beacon being extinguished. Back at the hospital, the familiar waiting room of Chicago Med became a sanctuary of silent dread for Firehouse 51. One by one, they arrived, still in their turnout gear, the grime and smell of the fire clinging to them like a bad omen. Chief Bowden paced like a caged lion, his usual stoic demeanor replaced by the heavy burden of a father fearing for his child. Cruz, Ritter, and Gallo huddled together, their youthful energy gone, replaced by a somber anxiety. This is the part of the job that never gets easier, the waiting. The surrendering of control to doctors and nurses, the agonizing tick of the clock as you pray for good news. When Dr. Halstead finally emerged, his face was grim. The news was a complicated blow. Stella was alive, but the fight was far from over. She had suffered a severe concussion from the blast, but the more immediate danger was her lungs. She had inhaled a massive amount of superheated toxic smoke. The chemicals from the fire had caused significant burns and inflammation in her respiratory system, and she was struggling to breathe on her own. The diagnosis hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. This wasn't a broken bone or a simple injury that time could heal. This was an insidious, internal wound that threatened not just her life, but her